And I think what starts the tree, what starts the snowball, what starts the conversation is Justin Fields, because you could start with the quarterback situation, and that could lead into how much fault is on Mike Tomlin, how much fault is on the offensive line, how much fault is on the defense, how much fault is on the injuries, and then what happened after the game where Najee Harris is going loose and Broderick Jones is freaking out on fans, and where does everything go from here? And look, I've been a fan, a supporter of Justin Fields, and I remain a fan and a supporter of Justin Fields. This should be his job, in my opinion. Shouldn't be Russell Wilson's. Even at the lowest of lows yesterday, you saw Justin Fields fall right off and then immediately go back to where he was, if not better. Put the Steelers on his back. If we were going to say anybody in Pittsburgh, besides one series of Cordero Patterson and Cam Hayward, if we're going to be honest, Cam Hayward was a monster yesterday. Outside of Cam Hayward and outside of one series of Cordero Patterson, the Pittsburgh Steelers lose that game in an utter blowout if it is not for Justin Fields. He finishes the game with over 300 passing yards, over 50 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's the first quarterback in Pittsburgh Steelers history to do those 3 things. But I'll ask you this question because my opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. It's really only the opinion of Mike Tomlin and company. Did Justin Fields lose his job yesterday? And that's the question everybody wants to know. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers finally looking to make a change to Russell Wilson, who NFL Network's Ian Rappaport says is nearly full health? And if this was the playoffs, if this was the Super Bowl, he'd be playing. Well, the Steelers are only entering week 6, and they just lost, and the Steelers are going to try to put the blame on somebody, and I got a hard time thinking Mike Tomlin's going to put it on himself. So is this the week that the Pittsburgh Steelers say, hello, Russell Wilson. It's been a long time, and we've been waiting for this moment. You're now our quarterback.
It shouldn't be. It certainly shouldn't be, because last night, and I talked about this before the first game of the season, on the Friday before week 1, I said, what I'm hoping I don't see is the same thing I saw on Thursday Night Football to open the season, which was an offensive line that is just crushed by injuries.
Yes.
And Justin Fields has to do everything himself. That's what we saw yesterday. And he did do everything himself. 300 plus. I mean, you went down the stat line. He did everything for the most part by himself yesterday to pull the Pittsburgh Steelers offense back into that game. It shouldn't be the reason he gets benched. I think that when we talked about when that would come, it was because, well, we had to talk about how did that loss come. This loss was not on Justin Fields' shoulders, at least not solely. I think he certainly has some blame to take. I mean, we don't need to get into the negative 30-yard sack fumble loss. But at the same time, I think when you look at the Steelers yesterday, Justin Fields was 100% more a positive than he was a negative. And there were other reasons they lost that game. You can't put it all on number 2.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think you do have to bring up the fumble. I think you have to address it and say that was Chicago Bears Justin Fields. That was bad. That was you saw what Justin Fields' floor could be, and you realized it could be very low. But then you got to see Justin Fields and what looked like a climb towards the ceiling. And that was, this is a guy who could put the team on his back. And in Chicago, he didn't have anybody to put it around him to help him put the team on his back. And in Pittsburgh, at least he had some people. And to be honest with you, he didn't have many. George Pickens played a terrible game. The tight ends were really the only help in the receiving core. And they were nowhere to be found because Arthur Smith decided he wasn't throwing the football and creating plays for Pat Freiermuth and company. He had no solid coaching. The defense was atrocious. And Najee Harris ran the ball 11 times for 19 yards. That looks like a Javonte Williams stat line from 2 weeks ago. That's how bad he was. So this is a peak Justin Fields. You saw the floor, and then you saw what could be the ceiling. And the ceiling was thrilling. It was exciting. It was a guy that said, if things need to be done, I'm going to get them done. He wasn't perfect by no means. And who knows what that last snap was. If it was Zach Frazier, if it was Justin Fields, I have a hard time believing it was Mason McCormick. I mean, you watch the replay. Mason didn't do anything. He was as stunned as everybody else. He was like, you just snapped the football? Why did you do that? Everybody's looking different directions. I agree with you. It shouldn't be the end of Justin Fields. I think it might be. There's a crisp in the air. The leaves, they are falling. And my friends, football is on every single weekend. That is what fall is all about. And you can make your weekends even more exciting with our partners, DraftKings. Right now, any new customer who signs up and bets $5 will instantly get $200 in bonus bets by using our promo code All Steelers. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up using our promo code All Steelers. The crown is yours. That's $200 in bonus bets instantly. Then stay in on the action and use that $200 in bonus bets to bet anytime touchdowns with DraftKings. DraftKings is the place to bet touchdowns. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy football and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code AllSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code AllSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I think we look at this and say, I could have my opinion, you could have your opinion, Mike Tomlin could have his opinion. And that's where the easiest change comes, because the Steelers have pressing needs. The offensive line was god-awful yesterday, like god-awful. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have spent years trying to build an offensive line that is worth anything. Omar Khan has put all his attention, Andy Weidel has put all his attention into building an offensive line. I mean, you go out and you use your first-round pick 2 years in a row on an offensive tackle, and then go out in the second round next year, or last year, or this past year, and get a center. Then you bring in a fourth-round guard. You go out and sign Super Bowl champion Isaac Seumalo, and then emerging young star in James Daniels. You've clearly made it a point to go out and do this. On top of Darnell Washington and Michael Pruitt, who are essentially just extra tackles who could catch the football. And now they're beat up and they're dealing with it. And they're seeing the wrath of injuries. They're seeing what happens when Spencer Anderson and Mason McCormick have to be the starters. They're seeing what happens when Broderick Jones struggles and can't overcome those struggles. They're seeing what happens when those jumbo tight ends, those big guys, are not available to them. And that's the biggest issue here, but you can't fix that. You can't fix that situation. I think that adds more to the you should start Justin Fields, because you're going to get Russ killed because he can't run. He's not going to be as mobile as Justin Fields. He's not going to make those plays the way that Justin Fields has made those plays. But I don't know if Tomlin's going to look at it and think that same thing and have that same point of view. I think Mike Tomlin might look at this and say, we need to have a quick fix, and that quick fix is the quarterback situation. And I don't agree with it, but you saw yesterday what Mike Tomlin does in urgent, scary situations. He freaks out. That's what he's always done. He panics in the face of adversity. He runs towards fear. And I'm a big Mike Tomlin supporter. I have told Steelers fans for years, you guys don't even understand how lucky you have it that you have Mike Tomlin. There's no chance we should be talking about firing Mike Tomlin or Mike Tomlin on the hot seat. And yes, you should take into account his winning seasons. But when Mike Tomlin's bad, he's one of the worst in the NFL. And yesterday was a prime example of Mike Tomlin being one of the worst in the NFL when he is not on his game. And Arthur Smith was right there with him. And you could bring in Terrell Austin into this conversation, but we all know Mike Tomlin calls that defense. Keith Butler let us know at the end of his run, he would drop comments all the time. Yeah, I don't make those calls. You mean the calls for the plays that are being run in the game? Yeah, I don't make those calls. That's Mike Tomlin's job. So you could put Austin into this category, but the coaching staff was atrocious. The biggest issue was the offensive line, but I do think Justin Fields is going to catch the blame in this one.